And so Tigers to Kids really is teaching inspiring, good, ethical, righteous stories to kids. Tigers to Kids really is a program that we started a few years ago that is based on trying to make connections between older kids and younger kids, and teach some stories in the process and work on communication skills of the older kids. We actually started a couple years ago. I was running an ethics program at Landon School, and our assignment was to teach ethics to the younger kids, grades 3 through 8. And so we decided what we would do is we would take some of our juniors and seniors and visit the younger grades once a month and just tell a 5 to 10 minute story, and see what happened. And I thought it was going pretty well, but I wasn't convinced. I know that the younger kids look forward to seeing the older kids, but I didn't know what kind of impact they were leaving until 2 years into the program. I guess I was running behind, and I decided to recycle one of the stories from the first year. And so we went to visit fifth graders at the time, and the older kids started telling the story, and within about 15 to 20 seconds, all the younger kids looked at me and said, "Mr. Kirshner, you've already told us this story. You told us in third grade, and we remember it's about honesty, and it's about the emperor, and how he chooses his successor." And the rest of this story telling session was shot a little bit, but as I walked away from that, I started thinking about what had just happened, and I thought about all the things that little boys forget in 2 years or even in a day, and yet these boys had remembered every detail of this story that we had told them 2 years ago. And so I started thinking, well, why was that? And clearly, I think it's human nature that young kids look up to older kids, and they try to imitate them, and they try to really observe them carefully. And I think that was part of what was going on. And so after I left Landon and came to Oak Hall School, I decided to try to see if we could do the program here, and it's been very successful. And basically, now we're visiting kids from junior kindergarten to 8th grade, and we're telling these great stories from history, some of which are fables, some of which are true stories. And they seem to be working pretty well. Usually we visit our students once a month, and it seems to be a good time that ends up being about 9 times a year, and the kids are always happy to see our older kids, and they get to know them, and it's also about being a good role model, and it gives telling these good stories gives the older kids an opportunity to be a good role model and work on their communication skills and show the younger kids that they care about them. One of the stories we tell is about the Tsar and the Falcon from Tolstoy, and how the Tsar loses his temper and kills his beloved Falcon, only to find out that the Falcon was trying to save his life by not allowing him to drink from a stream that had been poisoned by a snake. Another story is the emperor, how the emperor is going to choose his successor, and it's about honesty. And then we have the story of Glenn Cunningham, the famous runner, who was badly burned as a child, and through determination and the love of his mother, he was eventually able to walk and then run, and then eventually sets the record, the world record in the indoor mile at Madison Square Garden. Another story the kids love, and I think anybody who's heard this story remembers it, is about how many times Abraham Lincoln failed before he eventually succeeded. And so it's great material. It's great. It's a great way to teach kids lessons about these characteristics, these character building traits that we would like them to have. I think Stanford University Business School did a study years ago about which concluded that telling a simple story, was the most effective way of communicating to a group of people, and that people remember stories. It's also the subject of the book Made to Stick by the Heath brothers. And so I think storytelling is just a very valuable skill, obviously age old. It's been going on since the time of Homer. And you could make the argument that stories are it's the basis of our history. And so it's really just tapping into an old idea, and we found that it brings people together. Not only do the younger kids learn these great stories of history, but the older kids, who are now really involved in technology and sometimes to the exclusion of their people skills and being able to deliver a message or speak effectively in front of a group. So it works on their communication skills, and a bond is forged between the two groups too, and which is always a good thing. And I don't think that needs to be limited to a school campus. I think that if this program is expanded, it could bring communities together and different schools together, as we're all trying to teach our kids these valuable historical accounts and character building messages. In addition to teaching these great ethical stories to younger children, and to working on the high schoolers' communication skills and forging a bond between those two groups, there's, under ideal circumstances, there's something we call the magic moment. And that's when the storyteller's really telling a good story, and he feels that the younger kids are hanging on their every word. And when they finish telling the story, they walk away and something special has happened, and they realize that they've just done something really good. And many times they'll say to me, "Wow, that was really cool." And I think that's the same emotion that any potential teacher realizes when they decide, "Hey, I want to be a teacher." And it's that special connection when you feel like you've connected and you've communicated something good. And if you can, I think it was Lou Holtz who said, once a day do something for someone else. And I think that this is a quick way of doing that, and it gives you a reason to go visit the kids, and it's really special. So that's, I think, the kind of ancillary benefit of doing the Tigers to Kids program.